Hey everyone, DFA here, welcome back to the channel, and in this month's Blitz Pass we will be getting another Tier 7 Premium Cruiser right after the San Francisco. But this time it's an Italian one, the Francesco Ferruccio, and yeah, I was pretty excited about this one because I did test it in the super test and I was really waiting to see how much of it was actually left in the game. And you see it with this special camo. So you will have an historical camo and this one, which is probably going to be in the more expensive Blitz Pass, but spoiler alert, it's also not as good as the historical camo, so I'm just showing it to you so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, I think it's a pretty brave idea from Wargaming to release another Tier 7 Premium Cruiser. Yeah, because it's already quite a lot of competition at that tier. Let's take a look at this one. And there you have it next to the competition at Tier 7 and the almighty Abruzzi, probably my favorite cruiser at Tier 7. Let's compare this one. The interesting thing is it gets the exact same consumables as the San Francisco, a scout plane ×2 and fuel smoke ×2. Okay, why not? 2 months after the San Francisco, it's a relatively average ship. Hit points 25,000, not great, certainly lower than the Abruzzi, the Belfast and the Gorizia and the San Francisco. And survivability, it's really awful. It's one of the worst at the tier. Everything is red. Concealment is good at 7.9 kilometers, but honestly not much better than the others. Belfast 8.4, Abruzzi 8.2, it's not really a big difference. Mobility, this one is actually quite nice. Top speed 36 knots and then a decent turn time and traverse and acceleration. So that would be typically classified as a light cruiser. And indeed, you are getting, let's take a look at the guns, if I can get them on one screen. You're getting 8 152 millimeter guns, and that's already a big downside, because not only are you only getting 8 versus the 10 of the Abruzzi, of the 12 of the Belfast, but the reload time is also higher at 7.8 seconds. So yeah, the DPM suffers. HE DPM, it's one of the worst at the tier. Fire chance sucks at 5%, fires per minute 3, that's super low. And essentially the AP, it's actually not AP because it's sub DPM at 45,000, it's pretty average. So the question becomes really, how good are those sub shells? Or how much of that DPM, which is already poor to begin with, will you be able to achieve? We'll take a look at that in the gameplay. Spoiler alert, you want to pick an elite bonus that helps you improve the DPM as much as you can. You can see where this is going, I guess. No secondaries, no auto secondaries, and you do get 453 centimeter torpedoes. That's one more than the Abruzzi, but unfortunately the reload is also a little bit longer at 60 seconds. And the damage is also lower for an absolutely unknown reason, so the burst damage at 12,000, it's still pretty average for the tier, and it's only marginally superior to the Abruzzi. What's actually pretty cool is the torpedo range at 9.6 kilometers. So if you equip this one with the concealment, you can get around 2 kilometers of stealth torpedo range, and yeah, we'll talk about that in the gameplay. And yeah, being an Italian ship, it has absolutely no AA, and that was pretty much expected. And so yeah, as with all sub ships which do not really have AP, you really want to pick your battles. So it looks like our Black Scone has a pretty good plan, and that's why I'm going to stay quietly until the enemy DD gets spotted, and then I can start pummeling it with my sub. But immediately, yeah, honestly the accuracy on that thing is quite good. But the first issue you notice is, unlike the Abruzzi and the other cruisers at the tier, you are only hitting with 8 guns. So not only is your DPM absolutely awful, you are also only getting 8 guns on target when a DD is showing you a nice broadside. So yeah, it will take you a bit of time to take him down. So yeah, you do get the scout plane, and I'm using it to spot the exact position of that Prince Heinrich, but also to see if he's engaging me. And yeah, I can actually farm him, but if you've seen in the stats section, the HE DPM is one of the worst at the tier, if not the worst, and honestly, yeah, it's pretty much hopeless. It's really hopeless, because against a battleship, your sap shells will simply not be penetrating, and your HE will simply not be dealing enough damage, and just forget about causing fires. I'm not sure we're going to get a single one in that battle. So the Prince Heinrich sees a fancy new ship and luckily decides to engage, but luckily that fancy new ship is also pretty maneuverable and able to dodge. And yeah, I'm going to use my fuel smoke while I'm getting away from that situation, because in those circumstances there's absolutely nothing I can do against that battleship, and I have to look for something else to do. So yeah, I think we will see that a bit later in the gameplay, but the penetration of the sap shells is absolutely hopeless. To be honest, during the super test it was actually pretty good. I remember liking that ship and giving positive feedback, but I think others complained that the sap shell penetration was a little bit too high, and it got nerfed to oblivion. So yes, sometimes Wargaming listens to the feedback, but yeah, the results are not always great. So yeah, that Seavings being very annoying to us, and we do not have any air, but luckily we can dodge pretty easily. And yeah, this ship is actually pretty good for that, but you see what I was talking about, we're 7 or 6 kilometers away from that Akatsuki. And even if we manage to put a couple of shells on target, we're only chipping like 2-3k away from his knife. And yeah, and that's really not, it's really not super efficient, so yeah. You also don't have a sonar, you don't have a radar, so practically you cannot really deal with battleships because of your useless HE and your useless sap, and you're actually not that good against destroyers as well. So yeah, you do have a scout plane, and keep in mind it can actually spot for you, so that's how I'm able to keep detecting that Z-23. And at that range, yeah, you just saw it, 7 hits, that's pretty good, but he's still left with a lot of health, and we're only able to finish it now. And so yeah, this one, it's very dependent on matchmaking, to be honest, incredibly dependent. I did have some other footage in tier 8 battles with 3 battleships on the enemy teams, and against an Atlantico, your only real solution with that thing, if you cannot farm from behind a fleet mate, is really to use it as a big destroyer. Because yeah, just look at what's going to happen. We're going to engage that Lexington at 7 kilometers, and keep in mind I am playing with Sanso Netti, the legendary commander that gives you plus 15% sap pen. And all I'm getting are semi-pens and actually 0 pens, so yeah, and that's a CV. So against an Atlantico, yeah, just forget it. Just do something else. So yeah, we will not finish that short because the CV does it. So let's see what that thing can actually do against a heavy cruiser, a French one at that. Yeah, so it's probably not the best in terms of protection, but yeah, it should be one of my targets. So yeah, let's see what that thing can actually do against an Algerie. And yeah, we do get half pens at 9 kilometers, so yeah, that's pretty much all I can hope for. I do not have a sonar, so that Akatsuki, all I can do is actually bow tank him. But I do have the maneuverability to dodge torpedoes, and yeah, he's already shot, so he's pretty much useless for another minute or so. So I can focus on that Algeria. So yeah, torpedoes, as I said, the range is absolutely fantastic, the speed is average, so yeah, if you're already detected when you're shooting, they're going to dodge them. But they can actually be a nasty surprise to the enemies, because no one is expecting to be shooting torpedoes from almost 10 kilometers with that thing. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good thing with that ship. But yeah, we're only getting half pens and no pens against that cruiser, even at mid-range to short range. So let's maybe finish that DD before he's reloaded, and yeah, this one we can actually pen. So yeah, let's debrief the Ferruccio, because yeah, you can see where this is going. So is it fun? Not really. There are plenty of situations where you will feel absolutely useless, given that things sees tier 8 a lot of the time, and there are plenty of battleships there. It's also not very beginner friendly. Certainly not as much as the Belfast or the Abruzzi, and yeah, free-to-play friendly actually not so much. Yeah, you really need a top commander to do anything with this. Yeah, overall rating 2 stars out of 5. Wargaming loved it to oblivion, and honestly, if you're into Italian cruisers, just pick an Abruzzi. This is one of the best at the tier. Belfast is better, Shores is better, actually all the others are better, so yeah, there's not much I can do with this one. So yeah, Wargaming, if you decide to listen to our feedback next time, can you nerf the Western Dragon instead? Instead of nerfing this one? I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, hard pass for me. So there you go, that was the end of my review. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did so, like, subscribe and leave a comment down below, and I'll see you soon. Ciao, DFA, bye bye.